You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
We're out and about here at BRFM on the Monday Night Community Show. We're talking to Nicole Mollett. We're at the Iron Wolf in Faversham, and we're sitting just by the container, which is Room, the mobile art space. Firstly, Nicole, it's always good to speak to you here at BRFM.
Good to speak to you too, thank you very much.
Now, we're here today to talk about Space Invaders, so I was wondering if you could tell our listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, okay, Space Invaders is our next set of commissions that we're about to launch, and they consist of three main commissions, one based here in Faversham at the TS Hazard Sea Cadets units, and then two on the island, one at Castle Connections and one at Bluetown. And then on top of that, we've got two smaller projects. That one is based at Swale House in Sittingbourne, and the other one was based at the Healthy Living Centre in Sheerness. So they're all separate artist projects, but what we're doing is we're launching them all together in the space of just one weekend, so that there's a real kind of vibrant kind of explosion of art happening, if you like. But the artists are actually currently working and making these pieces of work as we speak. So yeah, if I go into the sort of detail of the three main commissions, the TS Hazard project, and it's worth mentioning that they're all artists in residence that lead to a final end product. So the artists haven't just brought along a piece of work they've made before or done it from home and then brought it along. The whole idea is that the projects are actually process-based, participatory projects. So we've basically placed an artist in a community group, and then they're working with those community groups in order to make a piece of work. So, for instance, Faversham, the Sea Cadets, which is a very unique setting because it's based in a very old, I think it's 14th century building in Faversham, just by the water. They're obviously a training unit. It's a very specific discipline. They're learning to effectively be in the Navy, but they're very young boys. It ranges from boys and girls actually, ranges from like say 10 till 15, 16. And that artist there, her name's Luce Charles, and she's making effectively a map of the creek. But it's more than that, because what she's asking the Sea Cadets to do is to help her chart the area, and they're using a standard map, and they're placing sort of pins, if you like, along the sort of creek area, stretching out along the section shoreway, and then kind of choosing where she has to go, and then she goes there with them or alone and goes to document those places, and then that will create a whole archival set of images, and then on top of that she's already done it was in the half term, a series of workshops with the Sea Cadets where they looked at the idea of kit and uniform, because that's very important when you're a Sea Cadet, and then they went to the National Maritime Museum and the National Portrait Gallery to look at especially Nelson, and because obviously that's of huge importance to maritime history, and the sort of things he used to wear and what his life was like, and then also looking at all the paintings and how they kind of represented a naval hero. So they got a very educational and exciting series of workshops in London and back in Faversham, and so that is all coming together on the weekend of the 16th, 17th and 18th of March. So then moving on to the island, in Castle Connections, we've got a duo, two artists, and they sort of work under the title of Juno Projects, but their names are Ben and Phil, I'll get that right, and they are working with the community, and sort of to simplify it down, they're doing a call out to all the people in Queenborough and Rushendon to come and celebrate and show off things that they do, things that they make, and they might not necessarily consider themselves artists per se. So for instance, it could be somebody who makes a jam or brews their own cider or builds cupboards or knits, you know. So it's the real kind of arts and craft to the absolute sort of extent. And what they're holding on the Saturday, which is the 17th of March, is a sort of giant crafts fair in Queenborough. and anybody who wants to can come and on the morning of bring their things that they want to show and celebrate with the community, and then in the afternoon everybody will be invited to come and see, maybe buy or taste what is on show. And they've even made a very brand new and special maypole. So there's the idea is that if it's nice weather, they'll go up on the castle mound and have a kind of sort of festival, dancing and singing and trying out how to do the maypole dance. So that's going to be a lot of fun on the Saturday. And then also, the final location for the main commissions or residencies is Bluetown Heritage Centre, and there we've got an artist called Lucy Steggles, and her idea is about bringing out the blue in Bluetown, because obviously most people on the island will know the reason why Bluetown is called Bluetown is because all the houses used to be painted blue. But if you go down there now, obviously not all the houses are painted blue, and so you might not be aware of that. And so Lucy's idea, which Jenny, who runs the Heritage Centre, and us who run art at the centre, thought was quite exciting, is that she's going to try and replace blue within the town, but also draw it out. So she's going through the archive of the Heritage Centre, but also visiting local people in their home and asking them to sort of donate a blue artefact to her collection. So she's either obviously borrowing the artefact or she's photographing it, and then over the course of the weekend that is the showcasing weekend in Bluetown, she's going to be replacing blue back into the public environment. So there will be these tiny little blue houses that I'm led to believe will be covered in photographs. That there were photographs of the materials she's taken, and people will be asked to come and take their own house and then choose somewhere to place it back into Bluetown. So effectively over the course of the weekend, Bluetown will be covered in little blue houses again. And that's like a sort of public installation. But she's also making a film that is using archival footage, trying to draw again on the idea of blue in Bluetown. And yeah, that's her project. And then finally, the last two projects, the Swale House one, we've had an artist called Janine Woolard creating a sort of, if you like, fairy tale fantasy images within the office environment, because obviously most people who've been to Swale House will know it's a very kind of traditional office space. And so what she's been interested in doing is this idea of sort of, how do you say, subverting that sort of normality and bringing in the idea of fantasy into the office. And so she's making a series of photographs that will be actually on show in the Sheerness Gateway, because obviously Swale House isn't open on the weekend. Right. So, and then also in the Sheerness Gateway we're going to have the film playing, and that film is being made by an artist called Simone Piantri, and she's working with a bunch of young people from the Sheppey Matters organisation, and they're making a film basically trying to capture the beauty of the island but seen through their eyes. So I think they're doing a lot of filming down in Shellness and places like that, and so that film will be on show in the Gateway as well over the course of the weekend. But yeah, effectively there's 5 projects stretching all across Swale, but they'll all be sort of showing at that same time.
We are talking to Nicole Mollett. We're out and about. We're at the Faversham Wharf, and we're talking all about the forthcoming Space Invaders project. We're out and about at the moment. We're talking to Nicole Mollett. We're at the Faversham Wharf. We're just by a room, which is the Mobile Art Gallery. It's one of the openings of one of the artists who've been in residence there. But at the moment, we're talking to Nicole all about Space Invaders. Now, I was going to ask you if you could tell us a little bit about how it come about, but I know that also goes on to become what its legacy is as well. That's right.
Well, basically, the reason why we're doing this, it isn't just about making a series of spectacular artworks. We're actually looking for, if you like, solutions as to how artists can exist within the community or indeed find studio space. And originally we were looking at having a sort of a complex studio space by itself, but as most people know, there's an economic downturn, and that's actually very difficult to fund and maintain. So what we thought we'd do is look at how artists can actually become part of another organisation. So like a lot of community centres, some of them tend to have a spare room that's not being used, or even like a business. We thought we'd look at many different examples of places where potentially an artist could be, that maybe the host or the organisation hadn't even thought of this possibility, but we thought we'd try experimenting by putting an artist in these places for these short periods of time, sort of a month, 2 months, and then actually recording what the benefits were to not only the artist but also the organisations and the users of those organisations, because maybe people don't realise that actually hosting an artist project is of use and can help promote your organisation. And then what we're doing is we've got a writer coming who's going to kind of gather all the data, all the evaluations that we're making, and actually create what's known as a toolkit, which is effectively a very simple how-to for people who maybe have never done an art project before. And this toolkit will use the case studies of the 3 Space Invader commissions, and all the data that's covered, and give a justification as to why you might want to have an artist studio or artist residency, and then also a very simple way of showing how it can be done, where you'd go for funding, what sort of things, what sort of rules you might need, how to create an artist brief, how to advertise to get a good artist, all these sort of things. It's very, very kind of, how do you say, boring, to the it's not about the excitement of making a artwork, but it's very, very essential if you want to get some kind of creativity going within your organisation. So basically Space Invaders, hence the title, is about why it might be good to have an artist within your organisation, and how you could go about doing it. So not straight away, obviously, because the showcasing weekend is in March, but sometime after that we hope to launch this toolkit that then not only the organisations that have been involved, that being Bluetown Heritage Centre, Castle Connections and TS Hazard, could then go on to use and get more funding, but maybe other organisations could use this toolkit as well, and then do it, basically do it themselves. So that's why we've done Space Invaders.
So I was wondering, before you go, Nicole, if you could just refresh our listeners when they can see Space Invaders and how they can find out more information on the project.
Great. Well, definitely. We are really, really keen to get as many people coming along to our opening event as possible. And the first being on the Friday night. That's our big kind of, if you like, party. We're going to get a few local bands playing. There's going to be drinks, food, very, very much a celebratory event. And that's going to be in Bluetown Heritage Centre, which is obviously in Bluetown, and anybody is welcome. It's on from 6 till 9, and bring a friend. We really like to see you. And then the following, the weekend, all locations are open, but especially on Saturday there's the fair in Queenborough. That's at Castle Connections, and there again, anybody who does anything involved in a craft or some kind of creativity is welcome to come and bring along their artwork and contribute to the fair. But you can also just come as an audience member. And then on the Sunday, there's going to be events going on in Faversham. The TS Hazard artist Luce Charles is putting on an exhibition in the creative space, but there'll also be the chance, all the Sea Cadets are coming and they're going to lead tours around the TS Hazard building. We've not put the show on in the TS Hazard building because there's no disabled access to the upper floors, but there's nonetheless the opportunity for those who want to see what's it like inside the Hazard building. There'll be a cadet guided tour of the building, and that's very interesting. So and then obviously all weekend long there's guided walks happening at the Bluetown Heritage Centre. So we've got a raft of things happening, but it's all on the 16th, 17th and 18th of March. And then if people want to find out more, you can go to our website, which is www.artatthecentreswale.wordpress.com. So that's our, and you can also go to the Swale website, which is www.swale.gov.uk/ AATC, which stands for Art at the Centre, obviously. And so there's two ways, but the information will be in a raft of places, and we've had quite a lot of press and paper coverage, so it should hopefully be in the local newspapers as well. So, yeah, by all means, come along. Thank you.
Nicole, as always, it's great to speak to you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.